What is up, guys? How are you all doing? I'm doing great, thanks for asking. And what we have here, my word, we have a commentary. Now, I haven't done one of these in a while, so first and foremost, hi, how are you? It's been a while, hasn't it? It has, yes. In this video, I want to talk about Battlefield 1, and I just want to get straight into it. I'm not going to do a full review as such. It's not really that big of a deal. I mean, it kind of is because it's a Battlefield game, so it's going to be one of the biggest FPS games of the year, maybe in the last few years in fact. However, I'm going to give you my personal take on it, my personal views and the feelings that I got after playing the beta, but it's not going to be a full-blown review as I normally do because you guys have played the beta or you can see the gameplay footage and there are plenty of reviews out there, so you can make up your own goddamn mind. But anyways, as I make this video, it is the 8th of September, so the beta has literally just finished and I really don't know what to feel, what to think. I didn't get to play it too much. I only got to sink in maybe 6 hours or so because I've been really busy. 6 hours is really not that much of a time frame to be able to see the entirety of something, and even then what we got was just a piece of the puzzle. It was just one slice of the cake. We have yet to see the entire cake and the entire picture, the entire scenario of what's going on. So the beta was very limited. It was kind of like one map, 2 game modes. You had 64 players or 24 players, and you didn't have everything at your disposal, such as customization and further intricate details of the game. I mean, if you look at what was on offer and what they showed, what they revealed, the game wasn't bad, but it wasn't great either. I was expecting something immaculate, something perfect, something fantastic, something completely different, when in fact all it was a game that's basically Battlefield 4 but with a new environment. Basically, it's a combination of Battlefield Bad Company 2 and its destructive systems, not to the fullest extent, but something just a little bit shy of that, with the feeling and the gameplay mechanics of Battlefield 4, minus Levolution obviously. And all of this was set in the World War I era. Now, to the ear, when you hear that, that sounds fantastic. That sounds like a winning recipe. However, in actuality, in practice, when you get your hands onto the game and when you play it, it really doesn't wow you. It doesn't have that wow factor. I mean, I've been playing Battlefield since Battlefield 1942, and it was literally just the same old, same old. The only difference is, like I said, it's in World War I, which hasn't really been done before. The only other game that I know, which is an FPS game based in World War I era, is Verdun. And if you haven't played the game Verdun, you have to get it on Steam. It is the best World War I shooter ever. And unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on which side of the argument you're on, Battlefield 1 just isn't as good as that game. Now, Verdun, the game, is very realistic. It's kind of super tactical, super realistic. It's literally one-shot kill, so it's proper hardcore. Whereas in Battlefield, obviously that's not what they're going for. They want some sort of tactical elements, but they don't want super hyper-realism. They don't want absolute hardcore nature because they want casual players to play as well. That's what they did with the Battlefield 4 game. They made it a little bit more casual, kind of got some negative reviews based off that. But the game overall was good in Battlefield 4. In Battlefield 1, the feeling that I got is that the Frostbite engine and the problems that come with it are still in the game. They haven't fixed those things. And I'm talking about random glitches and random bugs. And I know it's a beta and those kinks will probably be ironed out. However, if you're using the Frostbite engine thus far all these years, I'm pretty sure you should have perfected it by now. But apparently not. But anyways, like I said, I don't want to get into a full review, but the game felt just okay. It wasn't spectacular. It wasn't fantastic, it wasn't mind-blowing, but it wasn't bad either. I didn't not enjoy myself. I did have moments when it was really tense and really cool, especially if you're using bolt-action rifles. It is very cool in those moments, but those moments are few and far between, and it kind of just feels like it's been played out too much. I really don't know. Maybe it's the hype before the game. Maybe it was the hype. Maybe the game was hyped up more than necessary. I don't know what caused this, but the game was just okay. Nothing special. And it might just be me. Maybe I'm the only one who thinks like that. Maybe you guys think it was a fantastic game. I don't know. But you can put it in the comment section below. But anyways, moving on to the next area of discussion. The visuals. Now, it's a Frostbite game. It's a DICE game. It's an EA game. It's a Battlefield game. So it's going to look beautiful. It's going to look fantastic. And it does. I mean, the color coordination, the graphics, the fidelity, the models, the character models, the gun models, all those things look great. Even the animations look spot on. So there are absolutely zero complaints in that department. But like I said, it was a beta, so we didn't have access to every single area. So how's the customization going to be in the game? We just don't know. But regarding the gameplay mechanics, it was smooth. I mean, there were moments where I did get shot, and I was like, how the hell did I get shot if I was around the corner? Maybe it's because there was a lot of people trying to connect to the server so that there was server latency or whatever. Maybe that was the issue. Maybe it's to do with the game engine, the Frostbite engine. Maybe something to do with the coding or the programming that they need to work on before the game's launch. I don't know what that was, but there were moments, quite a few moments, where I was shooting someone and my bullets were literally going through him. I mean literally. I don't mean figuratively, metaphorically, or just for the hell of it. I mean literally. I can see The trajectory, the kind of that little bright spark and that light that leaves behind kind of like a trace around, and I can see that bright yellow flare go through the character model and hit the wall on the other side, but the character did not flinch. There was no blood splatter, there was no flinch, there was nothing, just no response, like the hitbox wasn't even there. And then they turn around and one-shot me with a shotgun or something. So there were moments like that, but again, it's not really a complaint, it's just an observation, because it is a beta and I'm sure these things will be fixed, such as the stretchy man glitch, the no hit registration glitch, getting shot around corners, not being able to climb over obstacles or running into things and getting stuck on them. That happened quite a few times, usually with rubble or trees that were falling down, cars and vehicles just disappearing or randomly exploding when you hit a tiny rock in the road. I mean, there were some ridiculous things in the game, but again, this is not a complaint, this is just an observation, because it's a beta. I'm sure they're going to fix it before the game's launch. The one thing that I do want to add, and I'm adding this later on once I finish the commentary initially, is that there are too many automatic weapons. Now, I understand that automatic weapons and semi-automatic weapons did exist in World War I. This is a historical fact, that's true. It's just there wasn't a plethora of them. There wasn't so much variety, so much access to it. It wasn't readily available. It was very few and far between. It was very rare, and it was the peak of technology, weapons technology at the time, and it wasn't accessible to all infantrymen or all types of soldiers. The majority of the people during World War I had access to bolt-action rifles, or at the very least semi-automatic rifles, and obviously revolvers and semi-automatic handguns. However, the idea of automatic weapons came into play when talking about light machine guns and heavy machine guns, but those were mainly machine gun emplacements, which means that they were fixed into a certain position and moving them was very difficult because they were cumbersome and heavy, and it was basically not ideal to move them, and you tried to keep them in strategic positions, and you had one every so often on the front lines, and again, it was very rare. So the fact that the game has a lot of automatic weapons to me is a negative aspect. I wish they only had one or two. However, playing the game, I can see that a lot of people are using automatic weapons, and in fact bolt action rifles or even semi-automatic rifles probably won't have much of a place in the game if this trend continues. Obviously that depends on the map, the area of the map. If it's close quarters, if it's long range, then you're going to have to adapt your playstyle and get certain weapons that will suit that environment and that situation. However, for the most part, I feel like a lot of people, if not the majority of people, will be using automatic weapons in this game, and that is going to have a negative impact on the amount of fun that you can have. Especially if you're like me and you're someone who likes to run around with bolt action rifles, you're just going to get slaughtered and absolutely murked every time you run into a close quarter combat situation, because your primary weapon is not going to be any good because it's a bolt action rifle. Your secondary, which is a semi-automatic handgun, is not going to work against an automatic machine gun. That's just not viable. So perhaps that's something that they need to fix, whether it is reducing the number of automatic weapons that are available, or maybe they can change the amount of ammunition that the magazine capacity has. Perhaps they could increase the recoil or the spread of the gun when it fires in automatic mode. Things like that, something to balance it out, because as it stands, I think automatic weapons will reign supreme, and single fire bolt action rifles or even semi-automatic rifles really are just going to get outgunned and outclassed, and that's something you don't want to see, especially in a World War I game. However, just going back to the point I made earlier, and to reiterate the point before I close the video, the game isn't something outstanding or something so new and so different and so innovative that it is mind-blowing. It is nothing like that. It is just an okay game. Will I be purchasing it? I'll be honest, this is the first Battlefield game that I'm thinking maybe not. And the reason for that is I sunk in about 450 hours into Battlefield 4, and maybe for the first half of that, maybe like 200 hours of that game, I wanted to kill myself because it was just a bad game. But the core mechanics of the game were great. All it needed was patches and fixes so that they could solve the issues of the game. Because remember what happened with Battlefield 4, they tried to release the game right before Call of Duty so that they could get a larger chunk of the market. That's what they wanted. So when Battlefield 4 was released, it was released way too early just so that they can beat their competitor in a market share and sell more copies of the game to increase their revenue. That was the reason for the game's early launch. And because they launched the game early, it was bad. But the core mechanics were really good. It's just the peripherals, the things that were added onto the core mechanics were bad because they weren't finalized, they weren't optimized, because they had no time. So over the course of the next year, maybe year and a half, 2 years, Battlefield 4 got better and better and better with each patch, and the end result, you can see it now if you go and play the game. It is a fantastic game. It is so polished, so fast-paced, so great, and you can have a lot of fun. I mean, yes, there is some bullshit. There's bullshit in every game. It's just, you can't avoid it. However, the game overall is magnificent. Battlefield 1, however, if we look at what the developers are trying to do, they're trying to innovate. They're trying to create this new entity, this new thing, this unexplored world within the FPS genre, which is World War I. And the core mechanics of the game are just traditional Battlefield mechanics, but nothing new. So the premise, the theme, the setting is new, but the gameplay mechanics, the core mechanics, the function of the game is pretty much the same old, same old. At this point, Battlefield is basically doing what Call of Duty has been doing for the last 5 or 10 years, which is creating a new game on the same system, the same engine, the same gameplay mechanics, but with a new skin. That's basically what they're doing. And whenever a game starts doing that, I criticize it, and you have to be fair, you have to be objective. If I give that criticism to Call of Duty and Battlefield starts doing the same thing, then I have to give the same criticism to them as well. This basically feels like a combination of Battlefield Bad Company 2 and the destruction in that game, the Battlefield 4 mechanics, and the kind of feeling or the mood of Battlefield Hardline. So to me, it's nothing exciting. It's just an okay game. However, if you do disagree or you think something else, then do let me know in the comment section below. I haven't made a commentary in a while, so I'm looking to interact with you guys and try to find out what you think and what you feel about the game, and let me know if you're going to be purchasing it. But anyways, that's pretty much it. I want to thank you all for listening, for tuning in, and hopefully I'll see you guys in the next video.